It's obvious. Why is there something rather than nothing? Why does anything at all exist? We know from both science and philosophy that the universe must have a beginning. And anything that begins to exist has a cause. And the universe is made up of space, time, and matter. So whatever that cause is has to be immaterial, spaceless, and timeless, and incredibly powerful. Not part of nature, you might say supernatural. We know that there is immense design found in nature, that we look at the way the world functions, we look at how things operate, and there is a specific mechanism and goal-directed purpose to the way nature functions. Straight down to in every single one of your cells in your DNA, there is basically what amounts to a biological computer code telling your cells what to do. Hey, where do you get a computer program? Computer programmer. You got a computer program in your cells. Where'd that come from? We know that there is morality, that there are things that are for sure wrong, that universally mankind would point at and say, no, that is not allowed. And even if everyone on earth disagreed, that would still be wrong to do. Well, guess what? If there's a moral law, there has to be a moral law giver. We know God exists. It's written in nature. It's written on our hearts. And we know that the Bible's true. We know that it was written by eyewitnesses, particularly the New Testament. Every book of the New Testament was written either by an eyewitness or a disciple of an eyewitness who got the facts from those who were there and saw what happened. That it was written within living memory so that if it was wrong, people could have stood up and said, no, that's wrong. I was there. That's not what happened. We know that we have so many copies of the New Testament that we can actually compare and know where people made errors. You ever hear someone say, well, the Bible's full of errors. You know how you know that? Because we know where they are. We can identify them because we have so many copies that we can look and go, okay, yeah, that one here, these other, 5,000 don't say that, so this one's wrong. We can compare and know what the Bible says. It has been preserved in that manner. We also have all of the historical confirmation. Archaeology and other historical documentation, time and time and time again, confirm what the Bible writers wrote. That they had intimate, detailed knowledge of the time, the people, the place, the culture in which they were writing, that if they were somewhere else, some other time, they could not have made that up and been accurate. We know that Jesus rose from the dead. Even non-Christian, atheist, Jewish, secular historians will affirm as fact, undeniable historical fact, that Jesus of Nazareth lived in first century Israel, that he was crucified under Pontius Pilate, that he was laid in a tomb. That tomb was later empty, and his disciples claimed to have witnessed him risen from the dead. Now they want to stop and go, but that doesn't mean he really rose from the dead. Actually, it does. Because there is no other explanation for those facts. We know that there were appearances. We know that there were changed lives. That Saul of Tarsus, breathing out hatred and murder against the church, encountered the risen Christ and became the chief evangelist for Christianity. The Apostle Paul. Two brothers of Jesus. I mean, if anyone's going to know whether or not he rose from the dead for real, it's going to be his brothers. They both became Christians and contributed to books of the Bible. We know that Christianity makes sense of the world as we actually experience and observe it. Right? We know we're broken. We know there's something wrong. We know that we want things we shouldn't want, and that there's things we should do that we don't want to do. We know that our desires and our wants and our motives get twisted up. And there's things in the world that we know that's not the way it's supposed to be. Just yesterday, I stood here. These beautiful flowers were donated. We had a funeral yesterday where a fabulous, wonderful woman, I'm sorry I never got to meet, but from the stories I heard and the things that have been said, was a wonderful blessing of a person who spent the final years of her life in a home being cared for because her mind was gone. That's not right, y'all. We know that's not the way life is meant to be. Everything in us screams, that's broken. The world has gone awry. That's what Christianity teaches, that the world's broken, but that God through Christ brings healing and will one day bring restoration to the world. I love what C.S. Lewis said. He said, desires are meant to be filled. For every desire that you have, there is something that will fill it. If you're hungry, there's food. If you're thirsty, there's water. You want companionship, there's other people. But if I find something in me that desires something that this world cannot satisfy, there's only one answer. That means there's got to be something else out there. And that something else is God. The question is, we know all this stuff to be true. What do we do with this knowledge?